So we're going to talk today about overinflated egos. Okay. And every single one of us in this room has moments where we have overinflated egos. And if you're thinking to yourself right now, not me, it's happening right now. Okay? All of us struggle with inflated egos at times. All right? Next week, we're going to talk about deflated egos, and that can be just as dangerous, just as destructive as inflated egos. Right? But today, we're going to focus on inflated egos. Now, inflated egos affects almost every aspect of your life. In parenting, if you have an overinflated ego, then the way you discipline your kids and raise your kids is heavily influenced. Joshua, you got to stop doing that. Stop running. You're making me look bad. Now, you might not say that out loud. You're making me look bad. But in your mind, you have this motivation, which is, I got to stop them because they're making me look bad. So discipline and training is all about the parent. When God wants us to put the motive, have the motivation be, well, what's best for the kid and for others? Not coming from a sense of, well, what's best for my reputation? What will make me look good? Okay. How do I know that? I had to read it, of course, not from experience or anything like that. We struggle with wanting to look good, wanting to have good resumes. Okay. Romans chapter 12, verse 3 says this: do not think of yourself more highly than you ought. Okay. Don't have an inflated ego. Okay. I found this shirt. It says, people think I'm condescending. And then in parentheses, that means I talk down to them. Proverbs 27, verse 2 says, let someone else praise you, not your own mouth. A stranger, not your own lips. If you're an egomaniac, you read that verse and you say, why not? I should praise myself. I'm the best at it. No one can praise me better than me. An egomaniac would say that. Okay. We're in part 3 of a series called Transform, and today we're focusing on our egos, because one of the ways that God transforms us is He transforms our ego. Now, when we say ego, what do we mean? Ego is simply how you judge you. Okay? Ego is not bad in itself. It can be bad, okay, but it can also be good. Ego is not bad in itself. If you have an overinflated ego, okay, you think way too highly of yourself. That's not good. And if you're deflated, you think too low of yourself, and that's not good either. But ego in itself is not a bad thing. What is this a picture of? Shark, right? It's a rare image of a shark stubbing its toes. Some say he stepped on a Lego, but for this sermon, he's stubbing his toes. When we're walking, we're not thinking, oh, wow, my toes feel great. My toes feel great. Wow, my toes. We never do that unless you have injured your toes the day before. And then you start to notice, you're like, oh, they're feeling a little bit better. Yeah, because what happens, you've probably noticed this, you only pay attention to your body parts that hurt. You're like, oh, my back. Oh, my back hurts. Oh, my back. Oh, and you're focusing on that. But before it hurt, you weren't thinking about your back at all, right? But when an organ in your body starts to hurt, it starts saying, pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. Pay attention to me, okay? When our egos are healthy, we don't even recognize them. We just go through life and we're not thinking about us. It's not about us. But when our egos are overinflated, our egos are always saying, hey, what about me? What about me? You should think about me. It's about me. It's about me. Egos, when they're inflated, they draw attention to themselves. Constantly. Everything's about the ego. So one of the things that really helped me this week when I was studying about ego is to look at our egos as though they are an organ in your body. And when your stomach, when your stomach is empty, it hurts and draws attention to itself. Hey, you need to feed me. Feed me. Hey, I'm growling over here. Feed me. You go to the Chick-fil-A and you eat. You order another Chick-fil-A sandwich and you eat. and you get maybe a milkshake, okay, and you put that down. If you put too much in, all of a sudden it goes from, hey, you need to feed me, to, oh, you overdid it. You overdid it, buddy. Oh, this is going to be a hard trip home. Okay, you overdid it. Yeah, I'm hurting. Attention to the stomach. Attention to the stomach. Our egos, when they're deflated, they draw attention to themselves, and when they're inflated, they draw attention to themselves. Okay, and like a stomach, we have to take care of it every single day. Our egos also need attention, okay? But the attention we give it is to keep it in the right shape. We don't want it overinflated, and we don't want it deflated. Peter says to Jesus, even if all fall away on account of you, I never will. Even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you. One of the things about an overinflated ego is that it sets you up for pain. It hurts. Okay? Peter is thinking in the moment, he's having one of those moments that we all have where we have these overinflated egos, and he's thinking, oh, Jesus, I would never disown you. Now, those people over there, these disciples right here, they might, okay, because it's not below them, but disowning you, that's below me. I would never do that. He's having a moment of an overinflated ego. I would never, ever turn my back on you, Jesus. Never. And so when our egos get overinflated, we are setting ourselves up for some pain, because what happens after he denies the Lord 3 times? It doesn't say he just went away and wept. It says he wept bitterly. Bitterly. When we have overinflated egos, we set ourselves up for some intense pain. Here's a guy inflating a balloon way too much, okay? And that's what happens when we have overinflated egos. We go around like we're that balloon that's way too inflated to where anything, just like looking at it, would cause it to pop, okay? And balloons all over the world who are inflated way too much are causing 2-year-olds to cry all the time because they pop so easily. People who have overinflated egos, they constantly get upset at a whole bunch of things. They're terrible to be married to because anything could set them off. Okay, why are some people laughing? In Esther chapter 3, verse 5, we see someone who has an ego problem. He's walking around like a balloon that has been overinflated, and anything can set it off. And this guy, he loves honor, he loves getting respect, but when he sees one guy out of thousands of people not giving him respect, he zones in on that one guy, and he cannot be happy with what he has. He's focusing on what he doesn't have, and he's not happy. He wants respect, he wants honor from that guy. His name is Haman, all right? And this is what it says. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not kneel down or pay him honor, he was enraged. People who have overinflated egos, they get angry really quick over all sorts of tiny little things. It causes pain. Overinflated egos cause us to pay attention to ourselves. We're always thinking, how do I look? How am I being treated? Am I getting the credit I deserve? Last Sunday, I wore this outfit. And a friend of mine on that Sunday said, hey, Caleb, your jacket made you look a little chunky. Don't worry, they're not here with us today. They went to... But they did. They said that. They said, you look a little chunky in that suit. And then they said, and your collar was messed up. Now, last week, if you remember, Melissa wasn't here because she was taking care of the kids who were sick. And so I checked it out. I looked at the video. I'm like, oh, wow, you're right. Melissa would have fixed that. She always fixes me before I come up here. Okay, so you can thank Melissa for that. Okay, so I thank Melissa for that. Now, what was interesting is I was already working on this idea of ego, studying it, and so when my friend was telling me I looked a little chunky, I was noticing that when he said it, the words didn't hurt. I received them because I knew he was saying it from love. he really was just saying it out of love for me. He wasn't trying to be rude. He wasn't trying to hurt my feelings or anything like that. And so I was able to receive it well. Okay? And then I thought, wow, that's pretty good. Because in other moments when I have an overinflated ego, that would have really hurt. But it didn't hurt. And so in that moment, my ego was doing pretty good. Okay? And plus, it drew attention to something that I could fix easily on the sermon video. So if you watch the sermon video, you can see I fixed it. But let me tell you a time where I didn't have a good ego size. It was overinflated. That was not too long ago. I came to church, and this person saw me, and they were ignoring me, and I was trying to look at them to hey, I'm trying to welcome you, I'm right here, and they're not paying attention to me, and then one of my friends comes by right here, and they're like, oh, and they're just hugging my friend, and they're just loving on them, and I'm just standing there, I'm like, man, that kind of hurts. What's going on? Why is that? And I took a picture of it. You can see that's me right there. That's my friend. But that's the time, and what that tells me is that every day we have to work on our egos because sometimes they're overinflated and we have to get them back to the right size, okay? And just because you have a moment where, hey, someone said something, gave you some criticism, and you handled it really well, it does not mean you don't have to watch out for an overinflated ego later, because it can happen later. You always have to be on guard and asking the Lord to help you with your ego. So I looked up, there's actually some instructions on how to blow a balloon to the right size. If it's too much, it will look kind of more like this, okay? If it's the right size, it's this nice curve like that. And then if it's not enough, you don't blow it up to its full potential, okay? Anyways, so there is a right size to blowing a balloon, okay? There is a right size to your ego. There is a right size to it to where you can take criticism well. You can see the opportunities that are there. You can handle words that are, thrown at you, and you can still keep that relationship. You can forgive quick. Overinflated egos do not forgive very quick. There's this right size ego, and we see this in a moment with King David. He's become king, and he's with his men, and it's at a low point in his life where even one of his own sons has turned on him and wants to take the throne. And this guy named Shimei, who David and his men are going through his town, and Shimei comes out. Shimei is related to King Saul, the king who has already died and was, he was the first king of Israel. And so in Shimei's mind, David took the throne that didn't belong to him. It belonged to his family. So Shimei comes out, and he picks up stones, and he starts throwing them at David and his men. And he throws dirt, and he throws stones, and he starts cursing and swearing and saying all sorts of things to David. David, though, in this moment, does not have an overinflated ego. He gets hit by these stones. He gets hit by the words, and he doesn't retaliate. Now, his men, they're different. They say, hey, David, let me go over there and take off his head. Okay? Let me take off his head. David says this: if the Lord has told him to curse me, who are you to stop him? That is someone in this moment, he does not have an overinflated ego. He's saying, maybe the Lord is trying to teach me something. Maybe the Lord has sent him to say this to me, to teach me something. Maybe the Lord will see how I'm handling it, and he'll bless me. But I do not want my ego to get overinflated and make some rash decisions and kill someone right now. So he calms his men down, and they keep walking. And they keep walking to their destination, and it's a long trip. And the whole time to their destination, Shimei is throwing rocks and throwing dirt at David and his men. And when they finally arrive at the place that they were aiming to get to, the scripture tells us they were exhausted. They were exhausted. But David was able to handle that circumstance because his ego at that moment in his life was not inflated. And when our egos are in the right shape, the words bounce off of us. Oh, they can still hurt, but they don't stop us. They don't stop us from improving. They don't stop us from moving forward. We're able to keep going. They're kind of like, when our egos are in the right shape, it's kind of like putting on the oven mitts. If you don't have them on and you try to take the tray out with your bare hands, you get burned. It hurts like crazy. But when you put the mitts on, you're able to do something and handle something you couldn't usually handle. When our ego is in the right shape, we're able to handle things that we wouldn't have been able to handle when they're out of shape. So Romans chapter 12, verse 3 says this: "Do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you." So we want this sober judgment. How do we get that? And Paul talks to a whole bunch of egomaniacs within the Corinthian church. They're people who are fighting with each other, saying, "I'm better than you because I follow Apollos. No, I follow Paul. I follow Peter. I'm one of his disciples. I'm better than you. I'm better than you because I have these gifts. I have these abilities. I'm better than you because I have more experience. I'm better than you because I'm older than you. I'm better than you because I'm younger than you." They have all these things that they're boasting about and fighting over. And so Paul gives them one question that is not meant to be heard and just thrown away. It's a question that needs to be received and thought about and really meditate on. And this is all of the homework for this sermon is to just focus on this question and answer it yourself. Okay? And this is the question: what do you have that you did not receive? That's the question. Oh, I'm better than you because I'm more gifted. I have more talent. I have more experience. What do you have that was not given to you? If you have more experience, you have more experience because God gave you more time. If you have more intellect, power in your brain, it's because God gave you that capacity. If you're stronger than someone else, it's because God gave you that capacity, that strength. Anything that we could brag about and boast and think, I'm a little bit better than someone else, every single thing we could boast about, when we really think about this question, we received it. We didn't create it ourselves. It was given to us. And so this is a very, 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 very powerful question to meditate on and to really think, what am I thinking that makes me better than other people? And where did I get that? Oh, my gift, my talent, my time, my energy, it's all from the Lord. So the more we meditate on this, the more we become grateful and the more we become thankful. And the less, it just helps to make our ego go from here back down to the right size. Oh, I'm grateful for this. I'm glad that He gave me this gift to be a blessing to other people. I was thinking, growing up, I did not like reading at all. The only books I would read are the ones that had pictures. And if they had words, I would skip over that. Don't read the words. Even until my junior year, my mom was still reading me books because it was too hard. My dyslexia, I'd get stuck on every sentence. I'd read it 6 times over and over, the same one, and get caught up on little details. And by the time I actually got through a page, I have no idea what I read. I just read a bunch of words, but they made no sense to me. If someone told me, hey, Caleb, you're going to end up becoming a preacher and your profession is going to cause you to have to read a lot every single day, I would have been like, yeah, right. That's not going to happen. Because I hate reading. I avoid it at all costs. I'm not good at it. But my grandfather, Papa Dwayne, and my mom chose to invest in me. And they put $3,000 down to put me through a program to help me learn how to work through my dyslexia. And because of them, I read every single day a lot. didn't get here on my own strength, my own merits, and my own goodness, and my own money. I got here because people gave. People served me and helped me out. And when I keep remembering, what do I have that was given to me, my ego just goes back to the right shape. I have nothing to be looking down on someone else. I have nothing to be saying, oh, I'm better than you because, I'm up here. No, everything I have has been given to me. As we close, I want us to think about Jesus, because when we talk about ego, Jesus was the one human who never had an overinflated ego. He never, ever let his ego get big. Not once. On the night that he knew he was going to be betrayed, the night he knew he was going to be taken and put on trial, he wasn't focused on his ego. He was focused on serving his disciples. And he gets down and he washes their feet. And I had to make sure and check, wait, did he even wash Judas' feet? He washed Judas' feet. Judas hadn't left the room yet to go and betray him. So he washed all of their feet. And here is what's so amazing, because you can make an inflated ego wash feet. You can force someone. You can make people do something. No one made Jesus do this. He got down on his knees and washed their stinky feet because he wanted to. And while he was washing their feet, this is amazing. A person who has an overinflated ego, when they're washing people's feet, they say, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm doing this. This is below me. Why am I washing their feet? You know what? The mindset of Jesus was, I get to wash their feet. It wasn't below him. He had no inflated ego. It was something he got to do for the people he loves and the people he's going to go on and die for. So when we talk about ego, we have to keep Jesus at the center. And if anyone can help us have the right size ego, it's Jesus. And we're works on progress. We want to transform. We want to become like him, and he will work on us. We just need to humble ourselves and say, Jesus, please help. I'm done trying to do it all by myself. Will you please help me? You're the most humble, the most perfect teacher I could ask for. Please help me, teach me, train me. And he will.